waiting on those wedges for that stay lock, those stay lock fittings, I thought I would see about replacing that teak trim that goes right there on this Com-Pac 23. I think they call it an eyebrow trim. You can see up there where the old one was at. You can see the holes there. That's been epoxied over. Not sure why the previous owner took all the teak off of it, but he did. But anyway, I had some old teak combing boards from a really old American sailor from way back in the 60s. And I'd been saving the teak, and I cut these boards out of it. It's a bit weathered, but when you turn it to where I cut it, you can see that it's still good. It's still perfectly fine. So I'm gonna take and hook up my router and round the edges and all that kind of stuff and cut it to length. I think I've got about an inch excess on length, so just long enough. So that's what I'm working on this morning. And now once I sand them up, they'll look good. I've run the router across them, and now I've just got to sand them all out, round off the ends. Well, cut my little bevel on the end, I gotta route that off, but they'll look fine once they're sanded up. Okay, got them all sanded out and wiped down. I'm getting ready to put a coat of teak oil on them because they're old and dry, and let that soak in for an hour or two before I try to install them. That way I don't get teak oil all over the gel coat on the boat, hopefully. And now with a coat of teak oil on it, just put it on there so it's still soaking in. It just makes it look real pretty. Freshens it up a bit. I'll let that soak in good for a couple hours before I try to install them. I've got to try to hit the old location of the old screws too, so I don't have a bunch of excess holes through the fiberglass. So I got to do a little bit of layout work on them, drill holes, countersink them for plugs and all that. Okay, so I've got all my holes drilled for this side, and I'm going to do my countersink, for my plugs, for the bungs. And I'm using 3/8 bungs just so I can keep everything the same size, so I don't have to make but one size throughout the boat. And I'm using 3/8 inch bit, and I'm just using the bit in reverse so that it doesn't just snag and splinter and bury down into the wood. And by putting it in reverse, it'll still cut slowly, but it doesn't have a tendency to bury itself and go too deep or even all the way through. So I just do it in reverse, and that just keeps it from snagging a big splinter out of it or whatever. It's pretty good. Teak is pretty dense. It doesn't splinter terribly bad anyway, but still you don't want to bust it or split it unnecessarily. One side installed all but the bungs. I just think that looks so much better on that boat than not having it on there. That profile I did is a little bit thicker than what would have been on it from the factory. What was on it from the factory was pretty thin, but this will give me many years of sanding if I need to, and less likely to break. I did put it back in the exact same holes where the old one was at, so no new holes. And I will be replacing those grab rails right there with teak grab rails as well, just to finish out that nice little bit of teak trim. And on the drilling the holes, to make sure I didn't drill through to the inside, I used a really short drill bit. It's chucked down real short so I could not drill too deep, so it wouldn't come through to the inside, and that really helped. because it's not real thick. And then I used, the longest screws I could use was 1 inch to get that to hold it, but yet not come through on the inside. But that worked good. And there's the starboard side done. I just like the way that looks on this boat. And you can see there too, my rig for raising the mast, how that kind of goes together there.